Welcome to the Transform Sales Podcast, where forward-thinking business leaders come to share their experiences and ideas, learn from each other, and amplify their results together.
Hey guys, what's up? Amir Reiter here for another episode of the Transform Sales Podcast, the agency spotlight series. I got my friend and our guest today, Denis Champagne. I might have pronounced one of his names wrong because I just do that. But Denis, what's up, man? How are you doing? Did I get it wrong, or am I right, or what's going on?
Yeah, you were bang on.
Awesome. So anybody who's been watching the show, this is where we like to spotlight and focus on not all of the things that the amazing agency owners like Denis do, but some of the top things they do. And for this episode, we're going to focus in and get super granular on one specific listing that you got. And this is the listing in which B2B buyers find you in order to really help train their account executives to prospect and do outbounds with automation, shorten their sales cycles, and boost conversion rates for their CEOs and revenue leaders. And Denis delivers this service through coaching and also through a consulting model as well. So Denis would love to get right into the ulterior question of just really like what business challenge do these buyers have before they meet with you? What alternatives they were using to solve that business challenge. Or maybe you can start us off with some storytelling. And you are the man with storytelling because you tell me some awesome stories and I like them. So the mic is yours.
Thank you. Well, often the biggest challenge that the leaders have is hiring the right salespeople that are going to do the job. Their job is to create growth and learn to engage with new business. And I would say also smart enough to go and get the business you've already had and return to them, because an easier sale is made with an established clients. And I see a lot of people looking for new business and not going to the business they already have in their books. So it's a changing of a mindset, both for the leader and the reps, to give them the confidence, the skills that we'll practice together so that they can execute in a disciplined way. Disciplined execution is the basic. With attitude is what every top salesperson does.
Okay, but let's. I want to frame it also a little bit more specifically, right? Specifically, because I know you obviously do recruiting, you do a lot of stuff. Your agency does a lot, but for this listing specifically, would you say that they're facing a business challenge in which they don't have enough qualified meetings for their account executives, or their higher SDR teams aren't efficient, and that they would want their account executives to also do outbound with automation so they fill their pipeline? Is that also a scenario that's more aligned with this listing?
It depends on the size of the client. The team I'm taking on, if it's 2 reps or 10 reps, it's a different game. I would definitely. I have an interview. I interview and kind of vet every rep, and sometimes I've told my client, 3 of those are not coachable. I can't work with those people. They're not going to learn. You're going to waste your money with me having these people on the coaching mandate for 10 weeks. So I rather work with those who are coachable.
Right. So if I hear you correctly, they're facing a business challenge, not having enough meetings for account executives. They're not hitting their pipeline goals. They want their account executives to prospect. And if I'm understanding you correctly, some of those challenges they're running into as well is that if they don't hire correctly, it's almost impossible to take an account executive who doesn't know how to prospect and train them. So you're kind of saying too that it's also when you come into an organization, you'll basically make a recommendation saying, hey, these are the account executives that are coachable, and then we need to hire the right way so that I can hire AEs who know how to prospect and then teach them automation. Would that be a scenario that is typical?
Well, I have a client, for instance, in Mexico, and we did the first mandate many months ago, and I had 6 reps, and 4 of them left, left or were given bye-bye. 2 of them moved on to other divisions because they're more suited for it. So through the practice, they discovered themselves, in and of themselves, their qualities inherent to becoming really, really good. So we moved them, and they're doing very, very well. They're happy in a new identified position. We slot people in holes. We put them in pegs, a round square, a round and a square don't fit together. There's a one rep, an example. She was an architect, and they never valued the
So if
fact
I understand you correctly, yeah, keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go.
she was an architect, and they never valued that competency for creating solar panel installations with big buildings. Well, she's an architect. She knows how a building is built. She can bring value, and you can put that title next to her title instead of saying she's a salesperson, put you're a photovoltaic counselor, professional advisor. Photovoltaic energy is solar energy, but it's scientific. So there's an advisory kind of role. So she's pegged differently. It changed her whole positioning and her attitude and the way she approached people. Very consultative, much more professional. And now people bought into that because it's not about us selling. It's about them buying.
Sure. So also from the perspective of the challenge customers are running into, it also sounds like a big challenge they face is that they try to coach the wrong account executives and they're not necessarily comfortable firing the wrong executives. So you come in with this specific service, also with change management, letting them know like, hey, you're going to be coaching the wrong person. You're going to be wasting money. I have to kind of hold you accountable to replacing these account executives too. So like before they hired you, they would be hiring the wrong people and they would also be training the wrong people, right? So it's a change management of understanding, hey, now we have a culture that your AEs will prospect and you got two choices. We either identify that the current team has those characteristics and we're going to coach them and train them, or we're going to hire net new, which is something that people don't talk about often, right? Because it might sound like it's you're coming in and you're firing people, but I think there's the other side of the coin that person might not be the right fit and be losing years for their career and hurting the company, which ultimately hurts the client. So it's kind of like, it's kind of the tough decision. It's the hard thing about businesses, right? So you kind of come in and help them make difficult decisions. So they were basically, before working with you, they would hold on to the wrong reps for way too long and invest into the wrong reps, which has a lot of bad outcomes. That makes sense to me, right?
Yeah, that's
maybe
exactly
you could highlight. Yeah. Well, I'm the agency doctor, so I'm here listening to you, and I'm translating it into a scalable listing for you, right? And that's anybody listening. This is why I do the show, and this is why I built the marketplace, is because you got a lot of amazing talent like Denis, and they do a lot of different things for different companies, right? And what we're trying to do here is break it down into one bite-sized chunk, right? And you might have a business challenge where like you need help letting go of the wrong people, or you might have a business challenge of coaching the right people, or both, right? And that's kind of where you play in for this specific listing, because you do other stuff. I know you do other stuff, right? So we're going to do that later on in a different episode. Talk to me about a key feature of your agency service that helps people overcome with the business challenge that you just mentioned. And it's interesting because obviously, a feature in a software is sometimes very clear cut, right? But a feature of an agency also can be, in my opinion, a personality trait, right? Like having the 25 plus years experience to build the trust is also a feature in our world. So I didn't want to put words in your mouth, but maybe you could tell us, what that feature is that people like about your service.
Well, there are two things. One is that I've done it. I've had an agency. I've trained over 1,000 people in my own agency. I sat with my salespeople. I sold as well. So I showed them how I'm doing it, and they learned from that. I had regular Monday morning coaching sessions, role-playing sessions every single day for 10 years. And funny enough, every time we had a contest, because I did put contests out, the people who were coached on that Monday morning, Friday won the contest every single time.
Yeah.
So what is that saying is that if you practice, Kobe Bryant took that inspiration from Michael Jordan. He was there 3 hours before and 2 hours after everybody trained.
Yeah. I'm like, this makes sense. I was in the right direction, right? The key feature is your decades long experience. You preach what you practice, and that's kind of really obviously what makes you stand out, which is, and like that makes a lot of sense, right? Like if I were to, hire somebody to help me scale my B2B marketplace, finding somebody who's got 15 years of B2B marketplace experience is what I would look for, right? And that's also part of the show. Part of the marketplace is for people to find those specifics. I know, like, even to grant, I know the stories of this. So I know that Denis has done this for Canada Bell, which is a huge telecommunication company, right? Bell Canada. I was close. I'm like, come on, man. I was close, but now it gets even granular where, like, you've done this for multi-billion-dollar telecom companies, right? Talk to me a little bit about, like, the tasks, the deliverables, and the people involved in setting up your service, and how long it typically takes to reach full productivity.
It takes 3 to 6 months. I was on a session with a coached person this morning. He started in January with my client. I'm coaching him now. He's an experienced executive, but he spent 15 years in pricing, and now he's back to sales. And, a lot of times we lack the common sense. Common sense is uncommon. Just spend some time encouraging people and showing a few little tricks here and there. You don't have to tell them exactly how to hold a baseball bat or the squash racket. You just need to encourage them and reinforce those quality, activities that they're good at, and focus on that. There's 2 ways of going it: improving on the strengths and continuing to strengthen the strengths, or focusing on the weakness. There's 2 coaching philosophies. I like to focus on.
So you're delivering through the consultancy. Yeah, you're delivering through the consultancy process, and then you're delivering through coaching, the training, the touch points on top of that process. And that's why, is it safe to say that when people access you through this agency listing, they're getting a consulting component and a coaching and training component at the same time? Yeah. You're coaching on top of that process?
So the consulting is done The consulting is done more with the sales manager or the sales director, because they are the ones.
Sure.
Actually, I have a client who just flew in from China yesterday. He was there 12 days. And before he left, he said to me, he says, "I'm so happy you're with me, because I couldn't handle the reps just by myself. I'm, up here, and you're giving me that interface of experience to give me some cues on how to manage better my team. But you're the buffer, and you encourage my people, and you encourage me. And I know I have a sounding board to talk to, in short of going to my senior VP or a C-suite, so I can really shine. So you're helping me to shine. So I have no problems putting a budget to keep you in, this
all makes sense. So the people involved are the management team and the reps, and you're delivering consulting to the management team so that they can give you the process you need, and then you're delivering coaching and training to the reps.
Yeah, I mean, it's
too crystal clear, right? We're uncomfortable because it's so clear now that it's like it has to be more.
It's a provisional kind of assistant expert.
How long are we looking to get to full productivity? Doesn't have to be precise.
No, 3 to 6 months. 3 months, 6 months.
It makes a lot of sense to me. Talk to me about the KPIs that your ideal client that comes in accesses this right here. They come in, they want to train the account executives of prospect automation, shorter sales cycles, and boost conversion rates. What KPIs are they typically evaluating on, and what quantifiable outcomes are they seeing?
That's a variable, because very
often... I
need
the Jeopardy sound in the background.
Yeah, I know. But the thing is, there are things you can't mathematize all the time. You can't always have a number. The numbers, each rep has that with the director, not with me. So it's not fair for me to kind of create the expectations, because you can use KPIs or you can use OKRs. objective and key results. So it depends the philosophy and how well organized they are. Right now, I'm dealing with a company that has they're a $500 million company, and their CRM is not fully put together. There's a lot of technocracy and bureaucracy within to buy. What do you buy? And do you buy into CRM as importantly as it should be? So there's a buy-in to the process, and then we can install KPRs based on the numbers. And each and every one of the reps have their numbers given by the directors. That this is your number for the year. So now it's also.
I'm going to give it to you in a different way.
Yeah, put it to me.
I'm going to give you the question. I'm going to reframe it. Hypothetically speaking, they got clear visibility in their CRMs. The bureaucracy's gone. Would it be safe to say that your successful clients typically see more outbound meetings generated per account executive, shorter sales cycles, and faster deals? Well, faster deals, shorter cycles, the same. Would that be a safe observation in this magical, perfect world where their CRM is accurate?
If each of those three components you mentioned are sometimes not always together. So I have a client who is asking for shorter sales cycle. But when we looked at the landscape and the ecosystem in which he works, shortening the sales cycle would not be a wise thing. You're putting too much pressure on the reps. So sometimes he's going to achieve it, but shorter, maybe longer than what you want. Because at the end of the day, the CFO wants to see the initial contact to cash in the bank account. That's what concerns him. And that's enough for him. So how do you get to do that? If you have clarity in your product market fit. In other words, you are crystal clear on the problems you solve, and you get that in the mix and the conversation on the first get-go, you're much more likely to have less of trepidation and hesitation over the course of the deal as it progresses. And when you move with relevance on every step. So it's not just calling back and I'm touching base with you to do such and such, which is typically a lot of reps. They just don't have anything. So you got to create your playbook. You got to practice it. You got to try it. And that eventually it becomes a workable solution, but there's no one solution for all. That is Nunu land. That's an illusion. Because different people, like I have a rep who has a lot of experience in one aspect of the business. The other one lived and was a vice president of pricing. So when it comes to pricing and bidding and creating the bids, the guy is a magician. He understands the intricacies. The other one doesn't know as much, but he has a bigger book of contacts. And he knows how to leverage the suppliers, the channel distributors involved in the deal. So you have to adjust, and that's why automation for me is a very elusive term. You know, like you can't automate human beings. You know, and I use technology.
You can automate the busy work to get them to be more human.
Well, I'll give you an example, and you know Michael with his own tool. In there, the talking, the transcription is automatically inscribed inside the CRM. Big, major change. Because if you can account for activity on a very daily basis, we have to remember, if I talk about CRM for a second, it is the basic fundamental system of record that contains all activities in a relationship between yourself, the company, and a potential or established client. That's the life of the client's life with you is inscribed in there. Would you go to a doctor's office and it doesn't have a file on you of your history? What would you say to that doctor? Same likewise here. You must document everything. And that is a major challenge. And those professionals I've worked with, I had one rep from an international, transnational company out of Australia. And the actual number one rep for North and South America is the one who discovered me on a podcast like this and invited me. And when I looked at the way he worked, he was meticulous with the documentation of all things he did and what he said. and what he thinks the other said, and he documents meticulously. He has an inside knowledge of every detail with the prospect. So when he speaks to them, they know they're understood. They know he's taking care of everything. It's like, oh, I noticed you had a twitch in your elbow, the doctor would say to you, and you don't even remember. If you've documented that properly as a doctor and not just think of giving you a pill for the repair or for treating the pain and not the problem, you'll be aware of that. Same thing. They have to be feeling understood and taken care of, like you're really taking care of the prospect and the journey. Does that answer the question?
I agree. I feel that way in this partnership. You're checking in on me all the time, seeing how I feel. It's just the best. It does answer the question, and it's super clear for me. And I look forward to productizing more of your service because you got 25 years of experience. It's not just one listing.
35
anybody who wants to check you out, guys, feel free to visit the listing. 35 years. And he also squats 550 pounds and he's jacked, but that's a whole different story. 440 kilograms. No, I should say 440. We're pounds now or kilograms, but it's
440
Denise,
pounds.
The cool part about Denise, look, I'm going to say this last thing. He takes care of his body the same way he'll take care of your pipeline. And I'm going to mic drop on that one. That. And where can people find you and connect with you? It's the truth. It's the truth. I'm not going to say your age, but you're older than you look. And it's a compliment. So anybody who wants to find you, where can they link up with you? And I'm going to let you get back to coaching, man. Where can they find you, man?
I'm sorry?
He's on TikTok. He's on TikTok all day long, guys. If you want to get the knees, it's TikTok.
No, I'm not
TikTok?
on TikTok.
No. LinkedIn? Where they find you?
LinkedIn. With my name, LinkedIn, you'll find me there. Happy to have.
Awesome. So everybody, we're gonna keep jamming. Everybody, thank you for tuning in on this episode where we wrangle down these amazing 35-year experienced agency leaders and break down their service so that you can understand and digest how to hire them, how to manage them, and what to expect from them. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Denise, farewell.